I wasn't expecting it. Not really. I had suspected something for a while. The subtle changes, the long phone calls, the late nights she needed for work. But nothing prepares you for someone you trust, someone you love, admitting to betrayal with a shrug, as if it's no big deal. It started with a small argument about weekend plans. I had suggested we visit her parents. She brushed it off. She seemed distracted, restless, texting in a way she tried to hide. That evening, I finally asked the question I had been avoiding. "Is there something you're not telling me?" She hesitated, eyes darting away. Then, in the calmest voice I'd ever heard from her, she said, "I slept with my best friend. Relax." I froze. The words hung in the air. I blinked, trying to process what I had just heard. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I didn't cry. I just sat there, stunned. She waited, expecting a reaction, maybe even a fight. She got silence instead. You, what?" I finally managed to say, my voice steadier than I felt. She shrugged as if it explained everything. "It happened. It's done. It doesn't mean I don't care about you. Relax. Relax." That word echoed in my mind. Relax. Like she had just told me she burned a bag of groceries, not shattered 20 years of trust. I realized in that moment that this wasn't just infidelity. It was arrogance, casual, careless, and meant to provoke. And yet, I stayed quiet. I spent the rest of the evening pretending nothing had happened. I listened to her talk about mundane things, laughed when she joked, nodded at stories she told me. All the while, my mind was cataloging every lie, every subtle betrayal that led to this moment. The truth is, yelling wouldn't have helped. Screaming would have given her the control she expected me to relinquish, the emotional chaos she could use as proof that I was weak, broken, desperate. I refused to give her that satisfaction. Over the next few days, I watched, carefully. Not stalking, not obsessively, but observing. I noticed how she behaved when she thought I didn't know. The small slips, the lingering glances at her phone, the nervous laughter when her best friend called. All the things I had ignored or rationalized before suddenly made sense. I didn't confront her again. Not directly. I began quietly taking steps to protect myself. Finances, personal belongings, emotional distance. I gathered evidence, not for revenge, but for clarity. I needed proof, a record of her betrayal, to remind myself that this was real, not imagined. A week later, I made my move. Calmly, methodically, I told her I needed space. I packed my things and moved out temporarily, leaving the house she shared with me. She was stunned, probably expecting tears, rage, begging. Instead, she got silence and action. It was in that silence that I found clarity. Betrayal isn't just about the act itself. It's about disrespect, deception, and the assumption that someone you love will overlook it. She assumed I would scream, cry, or beg. I didn't. I left. Over the next month, I watched as the consequences unfolded. Friends noticed the tension. Colleagues remarked on changes in her demeanor. She realized, too late, that my calm, deliberate distance was more powerful than any outburst could have been. She tried to apologize, to explain, to regain control. But I had removed myself from her sphere. She had no leverage, no manipulation, no power over me anymore. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing how long I had ignored the signs, how long I had trusted without question, how much of myself I had given away to someone who didn't value it. That hurt more than any kiss, any lie, any confession. Eventually, I finalized my decision. I separated fully. Divorce, while messy, became the logical step. I refused to let someone who treated me as secondary dictate the rest of my life. I refused to be defined by her choices. In the quiet aftermath, I discovered a strange sense of peace. Freedom from betrayal isn't about revenge or confrontation. It's about reclaiming your dignity, your self-respect, your future. Yelling wouldn't have done that. Leaving calmly and deliberately did. Months later, she reached out. Emails, texts, calls. I made a mistake. I want to talk. Can we try again? I didn't answer. I had already answered, with action, with silence, with leaving. The betrayal was hers. The healing finally became mine. Sometimes, I replay that moment in my mind. The shrug, the casual confession, the words, relax. And I realized that it wasn't just infidelity. It was a test. And I passed, not by fighting, not by pleading, but by walking away with my dignity intact, refusing to let someone else define my worth.